Hey everybody, welcome. It's another one of those things that I do where I make a video about stuff. Welcome to my videos. It's Scott from Heroic Studios Gaming. You are watching this because you are probably on either YouTube or on Patreon. The patrons get access to this long before people ever do, so, that's an upside to being a patron. But anyway, let's talk about some stuff. Today I'm going to be talking to you about The Division 2, which is part of the Division series and kind of the Division series overall. It's a video game that I recently was introduced to by people who were followers of Maximum Apocalypse, so thanks you guys for telling me about it. But this here video, sometimes when I talk about video games, I steal stuff from the internet. This is actually my gameplay. I recorded it. I have it on Stadia, and so I just went ahead and just loaded it up and recorded myself playing some of the game. And so this is actually me playing the game. So let's talk about it. So Division 2 is this game where you're playing as top secret agents for a group called the Division. It's actually called the SHD or something. Something or other. I don't remember. They're called the Division, right? So they're Division agents. But the whole point of the game is that you are supposed to be called in to deal with this outbreak of a plague called the dollar flu or the green flu. And you're supposed to be dealing with that in the first game. So that's what the first game is all about, and it's an outbreak that happens in Manhattan, and then it slowly, the more that the gameplay sort of plays out, you begin to discover that this was actually engineered to happen for a particular reason by Subman Man, who is a scientist who knows how to do those kinds of things, and he was the first victim and also patient zero of the spread of this disease. But then some of the other Division agents have gone rogue and turned on the rest of the Division, and therefore sort of made it all kind of collapse and go bad. So then we start the Division 2, where you're part of some third or fourth wave of Division agents that are being sent in to deal with this problem, or at least the spread of it. And for whatever reason, this uncontained virus has apparently destroyed the entire government and brought down all of the contingency plans the United States government has for this sort of thing, which is basically my main argument behind the story of this game. I don't really like the idea that apparently one pandemic will collapse the entire society. And to be fair, this game came out before the 2020 stuff, but it came out in 2019, right? So it shouldn't have been that far off. We know that the government has lots of contingency plans, and if the president dies, the vice president steps in. If the vice president dies, the speaker of the house steps in. Then there's this whole continuous chain of command that goes down. And the main problem I have is that while I totally understand that there would be a collapse of, depending on how big the collapse happens, there would be this breakdown of things like the National Guard and stuff like that. I totally understand that. As you know, I write games and post-apocalyptic things, and I love reading post-apocalyptic books, so I totally understand the fiction behind that. But the one problem I have is that it's the in-game canon doesn't quite track. So in the game, one of the major things that happens in both the first one and in this one is that the joint task force between the police and the military and the National Guard and all that business apparently breaks down to the point where they just go away. And see, my problem here is that these are part of this joint task force involves local police officers who just go away. But go where? Where do they go? Right? Because you would think that they would just they wouldn't they abandon maybe a particular area the dark zone in the first game. In this case, apparently all of the Washington D.C. area, all of it. And so they just sort of leave. But the point that I'm making is where do they go? Right? They have to go somewhere. Do they go to the Midwest? Do they go to Chicago? Do they go Florida? Where do they go that they supposedly go away? Because wherever they go, that's where the new government is. You see where I'm going with this? It's just a very weird concept for a game. That's my biggest argument with this game. Otherwise, the gameplay is kind of fun. It's your typical shooter game, and the one problem I had was that the auto aiming sort of assist, the aim assist, sucked real hardcore. So you'll see in this video I went a lot to the shotguns, because once I discovered the shotgun and its functionality, I just kept trying to stick with my second weapon, quote unquote, as a shotgun, while my first one could be the rifle to do sort of longer shots. But without aim assist, essentially the game is kind of hard, and there's progressions and upgrades your character can make, and they get better at shooting, it seems. But it sort of breaks down. You want something that shoots really far, and then you want something that does really like a lot of damage up close. And then you have your constantly usable sidearm, so with like unlimited ammunition. So you're not really worried about running out of ammunition. So the idea that this is a post-apocalyptic survival game is like right out the window with the amount of resupplies you get and the amount of like apparently unlimited amount of ammo for your sidearm that you can carry around on you, which is very strange to me. So it's like this game that's like halfway between post-apocalyptic and halfway between you're just like secret agent man, right? Like, I liked the idea of it being secret agent man, and like I totally would have been fine if my whole goal wasn't to like deal with this sort of fallout of society. If it was just like, any kind of war zone kind of situation, probably would have been way more fun. But as you can see here, I eventually got the ability, the skill, quote unquote, to use a shield, which sort of did stop me from being able to like jump over barriers and like hide against walls. But this game system is based off of the Unreal Engine. If you've ever played like Gears of War, and as soon as I realized that, it wasn't like I didn't need to worry about jumping over stuff. Like, it is a little bit more functional because you can jump over things, which is nice. But most of the time, you're gonna go from like cover to cover. You're gonna go between them, and there was this one cool thing where you just like you can target whichever cover you want and then hold the A button, and your character will just leap over or around whatever barrier you're at and just go straight for that new cover that you want them to go to, as long as you hold the A button, or in my case, the whatever button, the right-handed button of your thing, or probably something on the keyboard like a Z or something, right? Whatever the button was that you got to do to transfer, you just held that down until you fully transferred, and then you were safely transferred to the next location. That was kind of cool, because that functionality worked even when you're trying to sneak up on stuff. Like, it was just nicely done. So that was kind of nice. But once I discovered this skill where I could use the shield, then I was even more lethal, because then I could just roll up on people with a shotgun and take them down. And that's kind of what the game is about. Now, the one weird thing is that these are locals. Yeah, sure, they're gang members. They've gone like terrible, but they're just like starving locals, and they've gone into gangs to sort of survive in the most cases. Like, some of them are escaped prisoners or whatever, but they're just locals. And so like it was weird that I was just capping fools all over the place. These are American citizens here after all. So like that was a bit strange. Hence, like, getting back to the idea that like if this was just like a war zone type situation and these were enemy soldiers, that would be totally fine. The premise for this game is a bit weird, right? But the thing that it made me do was start thinking about this idea of there being like a secret agent group that does like really intense situations, which is, I think, the reason why people were trying to introduce me to it, because Maximum Apocalypse, like this apocalyptic situation and being like a badass that survives, was sort of what people wanted to talk to me about. So that's why people were like, you should check out this game. So I did. And like it made me think about that, and so now I'm actually inspired to do something in the future with that. And some of you have heard that I'm working on a project related to that. But this is the game. This is the game, and I do say that it is quite fun if you can just suspend your disbelief for a minute and like know nothing about how the government would respond to like situations. And you see here, there's obviously like FEMA trucks that they can't call FEMA trucks, right? So they have to call them Sarah trucks, that kind of stuff. But yeah, if you didn't know how the government would respond to these kinds of conditions, this game is cool. If you did know how the government would respond to these situations, it's like, I don't know, I guess, right? At least the missions are kind of fun. And once you get past the weird opening tutorial stuff and you can finally just kind of free roam the map, then it becomes like an interesting game to play. And there's crafting, so that's nice. But I think a lot of games are sort of having this crafting element that's in the side now. Like Cyberpunk 2077 has it. The Witcher games had them. It's like, I think it's just a thing that they're doing these days. Like Last of Us and Last of Us 2 had that. So this just sort of fell into that. The one major flaw, the one reason why I'm only going to give it one thumb, I would love to give it 2 thumbs, but I can't give it 1 thumb. And it has nothing to do with the setting that I have a problem with. It's the fact that this game came out in 2019, and our protagonist is a non-speaking protagonist, which is really awkward. There's a lot of like cut scenes and these different scenes where like your character interacts with other people, and this non-speaking protagonist is a lot of like walking into rooms and kind of like looking at people, and then they look at him, they say things to him, and he just kind of like nods or shrugs, and that's it, and then he just walks out again. And like, that's just strange. That's strange because like 2 years later, we have Cyberpunk 2077 that has a full-on speaking character part that voices over everything in every response to every situation. But even before that, we had Mass Effect, and we had Mass Effect, like, 1 even, where that sort of is a thing, but like 2 and 3 for sure. So I'm like, this is just weird that there's not these like speaking things. There's not even responses. You just sort of these cutscenes where they're like, yo, this is a thing. We need you to do a thing, and you're just gonna go. And they're like, great, we'll see you later, right? And that's it. Like, the whole scene is weird. That is weird. And I'm not sure why that was the choice and direction that they went. Seemed a bit lame. So that's the only reason why I'm giving it 1 thumb, is because, like, what? Like, there were some development things that could have been a lot better. But yeah, like, I would give it like even a half a thumb if there weren't already the problem with the setting, and also the aim assist functionality being really terrible. So that's it. That's my whole thing. So I give it 1 thumb. I still say that it's fun to play if you like that sort of thing. But I mean, honestly, you could play other games. But it wasn't not worth the purchase, though. I will say that the price of it is quite high for it being a couple of years old, and it also not having these things that you'd expect a game that came out in 2019 to have. So I don't know. I'm not sure it's entirely worth it, but I do think it's fun. It's fun if you like games where you're kind of doing almost third-person shooter, I guess. If you like those kinds of things, then it's actually not like a waste of time. But I wouldn't necessarily buy it if you didn't already have it, or if you didn't have a way to like with Stadia, for example, where you can just play it like anywhere. Then I would really not purchase it, right? Because I don't know that it would be worth it if it just was on your PS5 or something, right? It may not be worth that kind of purchase. All right, that's it for me. That's it. I will talk to you guys later. There'll be more videos from me coming out, because that's how it's going to be. And this is one of those rare extra videos that I make for a month. So see you later, guys. I hope you enjoy your gaming experiences, and I will talk to you all later. Ciao.